Hey everybody, hope all y'all are doing well. I just wanted to share a little something that I found this week in Transaction Desk, something that really benefited me. So I figured I'd make it a little video and share it with everybody. See, so if you're a Authentisign user, great, and hopefully this will benefit you. If you're not, that's fine too. Here's the information in case you ever need it. Not really sure how long this video is going to be, so I'm trying to keep it as quick as I can, but I just kind of wanted to give you a quick update and see how it is. So I'm just going to go ahead and log into to Instinet and create a new transaction, because the things that I wanted to show y'all are kind of neat in the settings feature. It involves this checklist manager and this transaction template. And these two things, to me, I've seen them and I've toyed with them in the past, but I've never really learned them. And I spent some time last week and really learned them. And okay, wow. So I'm sold. But anyway, you'll notice when we get into the transaction list, you notice it gives you this status of completion. And to me, this was amazing. And when I realized, I kept seeing this occasionally on some of my stuff, and I didn't realize what I was doing to get it to come up. And then this week, I learned exactly what it is. And if you look at, if you go into any of the transactions that I have set up here, you'll notice this tasks list. And you can sort it however you want it. Last modified due date, I've got it sorted by name, and so I labeled them all with a number to begin with, just so I can kind of put them in somewhat of an order. Some of the numbers are the same because it doesn't really matter for me, what order I'm really looking for or doing them in. But then you can cross them off and kind of check them off and see where you are. And what it does is all these things correspond to the things that you have in Zillow. And so right now I have two more things to do on this particular one, but I'm going to go ahead and open up all the completed ones so you can kind of see what it is that we're looking at. And then that way you can kind of get an idea of what it is that I have in here and what it is that that we've crossed off. And you'll notice, like I said, a lot of them I'm named zeros. A lot of these are the listing transactions. Do it however you want it, but for me, when I named all this was the best way because it allowed me to be able to sort it and keep it in order by name. Sorry, it's this button here. Keeping it in order by name, so that way it always uses the lowest number first, and it sorts them. When we choose to use the sort going down. If I reverse this, then it would start at the back end and obviously go down, but that's not how we want it. So, this is all stuff that I have. You can kind of just check it off, and then the cool part about this is as you get into each and every one of these, again, you could kind of put your little task window right here, and if you don't know how to do that, you need to unlock this. Click right here on these little three dots, go over and find the tasks, and mine's already there. Everything that's in white is already on my screen, and so if you wanted to add something, you can just drag it down, like if it's a color, so you just drag it down there, drop it, and then you can lock it back, and that way it'll lock it into where you want it. But that's kind of how to access this. But the cool thing is I want to show you how to set all this up when we go to do a new transaction. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a new transaction just as a test transaction, just to kind of show you exactly what it is that that I have set up. So we'll just do a test. And then once we have that set up, this is where I made all this. So you'll notice this right here, the ones that are not named my name, are the ones that were built. I'm not quite sure who put these together, but they're company-wide. And for me, I needed to change them a little bit. And so what I did was I came in and built my own. And I still have another one that I'm going to build, but for now, I just have these two. So let's just say it's a residential listing. We're going to be the listing agent. So we would select this. You can select your data source for whatever. Right now, we're going to just leave this off and label yourself as the listing agent. But we want to go ahead and make sure that we're using this template. And we're going to go ahead and create this transaction. And once we've got this transaction created, we can go in and actually customize a lot of these dates. And at first, when I first started using this, my whole thing was why do I need to input all this information? This can come from MLS, yada, yada, yada. And then I realized there's a value in this screen, this first screen. Because what you can do, I mean, not only this section up here maybe not is as important, but you can set different transaction statuses and things like that. But if it's something that's going to be, in fact, let me go ahead and do this because I'm going to do one for a new listing that I'm getting. It's 710 East Boyd, number 907. And so what it is we'll pull all this up, and then I'm gonna skip over this for now, but I will come back and fill all this information out to the best of my ability. But the thing that I really found interesting was some of these other dates, and I think it's actually on the next screen. Let me just double check. Yes, it should be on the next screen. So when you're looking at these list dates, offer dates, all these dates, I've always skipped over this stuff, and then I realized that you can build other dates off of these dates, and you can do it automatically through the templates. And what I mean by that is, let's say that our list date is today and our acceptance date is tomorrow. So we're getting an accepted contract, and then we can keep track of when we got the deposit check and when the closing is set, and all that kinds of stuff. So that we know, and if we ever forget, we can just kind of refer right back to here where we keep all of our docs and all of our information, and it's got all these dates. But the cool thing about it is that once you get to the end of this, and again, you can build these wizards. I have mine built to where Ashley and Shandy are always part of my contacts when I'm in here, and then I add any kind of buyer's agent or anybody like that or whatever. But the cool thing is we can customize these. So for a new listing, we can go in and customize these lists of what particular forms automatically end up in here. And then if we needed something else, we can go in and add, from the traditional list or whatever that's available to us. As we go through, though, you'll notice I've already got all these different forms built in here. And what I've started to do, I've actually started emailing all these forms for signatures instead of having to have them in the listing packet, so that all of these are done ahead of time. I can get them to fill out a lot of this information so that when we get to the listing, we don't have quite as much paperwork that we have to go over, and we can just talk about the really important stuff. So once we create this whole transaction, you'll notice that in the tasks and in the documents and the forms, they're already populated with the things that we've got saved. And so if I go into these tasks, and if I open up this task folder, or this task thing, you'll notice right here that here are all the tasks. So the first thing that I need to get agency disclosure, all my forms, scrolling down. And then we can get into the things, confirm that all documents have been completed. And this is just a checklist. I based this off of the checklist that Brandy and Tanya had put together and shared at the meeting. I believe it was early March. And some of the stuff on their checklist I tweaked a little bit to fit my needs. A lot of it I just kept because I thought it was really good information. And but I put all this. And the cool thing about this is once you have these things done, this little hourglass allows you to mark things as complete. Do I want to mark it as complete? Yes. Do I want to mark it as complete? Yes. But what's behind all these things is that they're based off of certain dates. So you'll notice some of these things say anytime. Some of them, you'll notice, have a specific due date, and y'all just watch me create this. I didn't go and punch these numbers in because it is 3 days after the acceptance date that I need to make sure that I get the deposit check copy. How did it calculate that? Is because I've got it set up to where 3 days after the acceptance date, I'm gonna get a reminder with this task to make sure that this took place. And then once I know that it took place, then I can just mark it as checked, mark it as crossed off, and then I'm moving on to the next one. So as I go back into the dashboard of this particular file, you'll see that everything that we have in there, it's starting to show up as checked. And again, you can sort all these things using these arrows. I have named, again, like I said earlier, I have named everything to where I name it by numbers so that it kind of appears in a certain order, but if something else works for you, you can do date created, last modified, due dates, things like that. If you want to establish due dates for everything, then you can do that as well. So let me show you how to set this up. So you go into settings, and once you're in settings, you have these checklist manager and this transaction template. So the checklist manager is where you actually will go in and build these buyer checklists, the seller checklist, referral checklist, and I have a dual agency checklist that I haven't had a chance to put together yet. But again, that's based off of that thing that Brandy and Tanya had put together. I just haven't gotten around to it. So my buyer checklist, when I built this is one that is created by Pat, and I don't know if it just didn't get finished or if something's wrong with it, but I've got these that I went ahead and built in for myself, and that's why I have the name them as mine. But you'll notice I have it in here. Here's the name. You can give it a description if you want to, and here's all the checklists. And you'll see they're out of order in here, and it doesn't really matter that they're out of order in here, but since I've named them certain numbers, I can always go back in the other screen, sort them, and it's going to put them in order. So what I tried to do was I tried to go as, you know, as in order as possible, but then I began to think of certain things, and I decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and put these forms in here, so I threw all those as 000 so that when they sort them in the other screen, it comes back and it puts them all in order, so I'm never looking and having to go through. But it's basically about 22 steps, not including the documents at the beginning, that you'll notice. That way we can kind of follow up on things. And as you'll see, a lot of these things take place on acceptance date, you know, or they maybe don't even have a date, you know, or they're just kind of any time, you know. But what I can do is I can come in, and once we build these things, we can set all these times up. So I'm going to look at this one in particular. We'll go in and we'll see this one and how it was set up, because what you'll see is that it opens up this general tab, and you can name it right here. You can classify it as a task that needs to be complete, or a document and a task. And then you can be able to, you know, if you're working on a team or working with someone together that both of you are in and out of the thing, you can assign it to different people, give certain people access. I'm not using that feature at the moment, but this is the neat thing, and you can relate it to a transaction date, you know, or you can say it's got no due date. And so this is how we end up with 10 days after acceptance day. So I'll know that this particular task, which was buyer's repair submitted to the agent, that's going to appear, and I'm going to get a reminder because I've assigned the task to myself to give a reminder one day before. I've assigned it to myself as the selling agent to make sure that this, oops, I actually didn't check the email box, but that this has been assigned to me so that I know that this is something that I have to get done. So I will actually get an email the day before, 10 days after the date of acceptance. I know that's a lot to swallow, but because of that acceptance date that we assigned at the very beginning on page 2 when we started the wizard, now we can use this as a reference to that date. If you want to assign it to somebody else, you can. So if you want to assign it to your seller, if you want to assign it to whoever, you can assign this, and it'll actually send them an email reminder. So I've set some of these up for like of some of your if you have the seller, when we're dealing with utilities, just as a utility reminder, hey, on such and such date, don't forget to cut off or call your utility companies to let them know that you're going to be canceling. Same thing for the buyers. On such and such date, don't forget to call utility companies to set up. Not something that I got to remember, not something that I'm going to actually go in here and send an email. This is going to automatically do it as long as I have those particular dates set up. So this is something that I really thought was really useful. You know, different things that I've just got set up, you know, to just to double check everything. This probably needs to be adjusted. Some of these things I'm having to tweak a little bit just to kind of get it. I probably need to put this maybe 14 or 13 days, or just after, you know, sometime after we make sure that we get the inspections done and through inspection period. But that way we have everything that we need, you know, and if it's something that we don't need, you know, like we're not going to be doing the actual walkthrough, then I'll just leave it there and it just automatically gets checked off, you know. But it's just a little checklist that where you can go into the individual transaction and just, instead of trying to keep it on paper, y'all know I'm not a big paper person, it's right here in the transaction folder, and you can automatically know exactly where it is that you've left off and what it is that you need to do next. And if you want to edit these individually, you can, just by clicking on the name. And you see you can actually share it with Ashley or share it with different people within the office if you ever needed to. You know, that way it's just one more little thing that we can use to be able to help us be a little bit more efficient, you know, at getting all the information that we have that we need, and you know, make us a little bit better agent. So I don't know if this helps anybody. Hopefully it does. Like I said, for me, it was a lifesaver. It was something that I really found tremendously helpful. I had a scare last week where I forgot to order a termite certificate and literally did not get it until about an hour and a half before closing. Yeah, thank God the termite certificate the house passed and we got the certificate. But if I'd have had my task checklist in place, I'd have realized, didn't order that, and that way I would remember to get it done. So hopefully that helps. Like I said, for me, it was a game changer. Hopefully for you, you find it you know, as helpful too. And I just like this look too, this view. kind of gives you a little quick snapshot as you're dealing with the things that you're dealing with, where things are, where you need to be, what needs attention, and that way you can kind of see at a quick snapshot of where you are and what you need to do. So hope this helps y'all. Let me know if y'all have any questions. Glad to answer them. If y'all have any specific topics about the whole transaction desk platform, let me know. Maybe we'll put together a video on that so that we can all understand a little bit better, all have a better grasp on how to use it, and maybe put it to good use. All right, let me know. Thanks. Y'all have a good night.